So, welcome back to Series 2, Episode 26 of the Passionate Pioneer podcast with today's guest, Stephanie Keenan-Ray, the powerhouse of unveiling radiant health. Hi. You know me, I'm Beth, also known as the Passionate Pioneer, hence the name of this podcast. And my motto is Empowered Women, Empowered Lives. And this podcast is your doorway to passion, spirituality, and joyful living. So let me get started and welcome our guest. So Stephanie is a holistic esthetician, essential oil educator on a mission to empower her clients to unlock their natural radiance. With a passion for natural healing ignited by childhood experiences, Stephanie dedicated herself to exploring alternative therapies. She now integrates her expertise into her practice, helping others embrace their inner and outer beauty. And I can't wait for Steph to share her insights on this holistic wellness, essential oil magic, and the power of self-care journey.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And I started doing these lives quite recently on this series because series one, they were pre-recorded. And I thought series two, I thought, well, let's do something different. Let's go live to give the audience a chance to meet us in person.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty.
and it's
Yeah.
nice. You don't even feel like you're live, to be honest. It's just
Yeah.
a chat, right? It's
Yeah.
just they want
Absolutely.
to hear your story. I want to hear your story. So let's crack on.
Yeah.
Um, so my first question is a bit of a tongue in cheek that I ask all my guests,
Okay.
and that's what ignited your passion for the holistic and essential oil industry? Was it a lifelong dream or did it emerge through a journey of discovery?
Um, I mean, it did start when I was young. I always kind of leaned towards natural healing. I realized thinking about it later that like my mom did a lot of natural things just as how she took care of us. And I took that for granted, and my best friend's mom did too. So between my two moms, I was like surrounded by it to begin with. And then my mom and I were in a car accident, and a few months later, her shoulder froze. And I watched, we went to a chiropractor and I watched through that and PT. She was healed and recovered and able to do her job again. And in going, I discovered I had slip discs in my neck and my back. And so it was a journey of learning about that. And then that just snowballed. Like I was in sixth grade. I'm like, I want to go to chiropractic school right now. And you can't do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm dropping out of middle school and I'm going to college. And so I somehow, I don't even know how I got my hands on this book, but I got a reflexology book and I taught myself reflexology, and I sat there and massaged my dad's feet and helped him pass kidney stones, and he was like, this went faster and smoother and less painful. And so that immediate gratification of like I made him feel better with my hands on his feet, that
Right.
just changed everything. And from there it was like, okay, now I'm going to learn about chakras and I'm going to learn about oils and all these different things. But I just kept learning, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to use it in real life.
Right. Well, it is a journey of discovery, isn't it? And
Yeah.
the fact that you just keep learning. I mean, this is life, isn't it? We just follow the joy. We follow the next step and the next step and the next step, and it
Exactly.
just evolves
It
and
does.
eventually emerges and then continues to evolve.
Exactly, exactly. Like
Right.
I used to just call myself a Renaissance woman. I'm like, I know a lot of things, and I'm not sure exactly how I use them all in my day to day, but I've got all sorts of tricks up my hat. And now I'm like, okay, I actually use them in what I'm doing now, for the most part. So that's pretty cool.
So you talked about your mom having this, or you had a car accident. Were you in the car with her?
Yes, I
Yes.
was
So you
passenger.
both had these these body issues, right? So you talked about your mom. So I'm guessing that then through the PT,
Physical therapy. Yep.
physical therapy, yeah.
Mhm.
That you started on the physical therapy journey, which led you down
Yeah.
multiple paths.
Mhm.
Who were some of your guiding lights on the path, apart from yourself and evolving and
Right.
understanding that doing it helps, right?
Yeah.
But who
I
were the
think
role models and mentors, etc.?
my dad was a really big one, just because he was a really good cheerleader. He always was telling me I could do whatever. Because it was either I was going to be a chiropractor or I wanted to be a helicopter pilot like him. So, but
Similar,
he,
very similar, right? Very similar.
right, completely normal. Yeah. And he just always encouraged me to learn new things, but like at one point he knew a woman who did a lot of energy work. She did a different kind of energy work called mandala, which was similar to Reiki or Shambhala, sorry, Shambhala. Similar to Reiki. And he and I signed up for her class and like learned it together, and he was like, I think you'll benefit from this. Let's do this together. And it was
Nice.
interesting. So to have him just kind of having my back and kind of being like, you're really gifted, you've got something, keep going was kind of the thing. But between my mom as well, but those two were my biggest one. And then after that, it was just honestly, I did a lot of self teaching and then discovering people who I, wanted to learn from. But for the most part, it's a lot of self discovery. Yeah.
That's true, isn't it? On this entrepreneurial journey, it's a lot of self-discovery, self-improvement, reading, learning.
Mhm.
Any trainers or coaches that you had along the way,
Um, I'm
or
sure there were.
significant people that were, you
I
know,
feel horrible right now. I'm like, I can't think of one. Um, you know, Not that relates specifically to my industry, but I had a couple of professors in college that were just phenomenal
right.
um, lights in my life, and a couple in high school actually that were just unbelievable, wonderful people that just um,
Encouraged you,
helped
supported
me,
you,
like helped
motivated
me,
you.
yeah, motivated or just sparked interest in things that I wouldn't have known about, that sort of thing. Just encouraging you to be a thinker and a learner and try new things, and yeah.
That's nice, isn't it? Because there's not very many of them.
Yeah, exactly.
There are some great teachers out there,
Hmm.
um, and some great mentors. But sometimes at school, particularly school, they
Hmm.
tend to just stick to the curriculum. They're not very inspiring,
Exactly.
um, and and sometimes quite the opposite.
Exactly.
Sometimes
Yeah.
very destructive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think then when you move to university and you're doing something you love, you take on a whole new type of energy, really, don't you? Because you're really following your true path.
Mm. Yeah. So I went to college thinking, I'm going to be a biology major so that I can go to chiropractic school. And so basically, biology to then go to basically pre med only without surgery. And organic chemistry had a whole thing to say about that. And I was failing miserably. So yeah, it was a challenge. But again, my brother, he said to me, just get a degree, just get a 4-year degree in something. Because at the time he had a 2-year associate's degree from Berklee College of Music and was doing fiber optic work, and as a manager made a lot less money just because he had an associate's instead of a bachelor's. So he was like, just get a degree. I don't care what it's in. So so that was again another fire to keep me going because I was this close to quitting. Um, and that really helped. And again, yeah, like those first few years, it was a struggle of I'm doing the sciences, which I found fascinating, but I didn't necessarily click well, right? And
Yeah.
then those second 2 years, I was English and art history and other things that I love, so it was enjoyable. Um,
But I suppose the basics, right? The holistic basics, you've got to have an interest, you've got to have a knowledge, a basic foundational knowledge of some type of chemistry,
oh yeah. Yeah,
physics,
and even
maybe
before,
biology.
and I joke because I went to a very, very small university. And so in my basic, freshman year classes, I was in really small classes with grad students. So for what I was learning in comparison to my friends at the huge universities with 400 classmates, I definitely learned a lot, and it still plays a role because I totally geek out with my essential oils and I think about the chemistry of them and how they play a role
Right.
in the body. So yeah, like it was important for me to be there. I just didn't make it the path that I expected to.
Yeah, I'm more into the chemistry of the brain and the soul. I'm not necessarily into the. It was never a good subject for me at school.
Yeah.
I couldn't get with the numbers and the letters and physics. Just I
Yes.
can't even remember any physics. I just can't remember it.
Yep, I agree. Yes. Yeah.
So what about when you overcame like obstacles on your journey? Um, what do you think was a pivotal moment where you took a significant risk to follow this holistic journey?
Well, I mean, I after college I worked in catering for quite some time and had a decent job, and but at some point I just kind of hit a wall and said I need to do something different. And at first I thought I wanted to do massage, but I thought I had really cracky wrists, so I didn't think anybody would want a massage from me. So I went and learned equine massage. So I learned how to massage horses, another risky industry because these are $1 million investments that they owners do not trust any old fool with. So that was a challenge. Um, and then eventually I said, you know what, I'm going to go to spa therapy school. And I had not even seen an esthetician. I just was like, I want to go work at a resort doing body treatments and making people feel amazing and doing facials. And then I went to aesthetic school and discovered like, oh, I have to wax people's legs and faces as well, not just the luxurious wonderfulness. And so, I got licensed and kind of struggled in that industry for a little while, but like literally as soon as I got my license, the economy tanked. And I was like, oh, okay, great. 2007, 2008. And
Right, right.
so just kind of a struggle in that world of getting in there. Um, and of course, when I went into it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go work on a resort. Life will be great. And of course, promptly I met the man who eventually became my husband. So I did not do any of the above. But
Because life happened.
exactly. But I kept, even though after a few years of struggling, I went back to catering world and then I got a different desk job. I kept my hand in the aesthetics, practicing on friends and family. I kept my license always a lot active, and eventually started educating on essential oils. And once I got into that, um, well, the more comfortable I got, I started to talk about skin and using the oils for our skin and things like that. And that whole inside out element of taking care of our inside so that the outside looks good.
Yeah.
And and all my friends in that world were like, you need to get back into an aesthetics room. And I just kind of looked at him and said, yeah, tell my husband that, because taking the risk of commission based work when you have, even part time, at the time I had my son, so I was just working part time at a desk job. it's still a risk. And then I'm one of the few that will say COVID was a good thing for me, because I got furloughed from my desk job, and very shortly thereafter, the spa that I started working at they were reopening after we had shut down, and they said, we have an extra aesthetics room. And the funny thing is, I had done an event there 6 months prior, and I said to them, this place is beautiful, you guys seem amazing, like if you ever need an esthetician, let me know. I had no idea how I would ever make that happen. And then next thing I know, it just kind of fell into my lap. And I looked at my husband, I said, this is my opportunity to go back and see if I can do it. And within 2 weeks of being in a room working aesthetics, he looked at me and said they could not pay you enough to go back to the old job, because I was so miserable there in comparison.
Right.
Doing
Yeah,
what
and isn't that funny when you let go of the how, but you want it and you're focused. That's
yeah,
your passion, obviously. That's the right. When you're on the right path, the universe will just bring it to you.
make
You
it
don't even
happen.
have to try, right?
Exactly. And I feel like I had such a zigzaggy pattern to get there. But once it finally fell into place, it was like, okay, I'm finally doing it. I'm using the oils, I'm using all the different massage techniques I've learned. I'm using, all these different things. And it's all finally making sense.
Yeah, and I think it's because we do hold on, don't we? We hold on to what we should do
Mm-hmm.
rather than, what we are, what our passion is and what brings us joy. We tend to focus on the job security, which actually, as COVID showed, we don't have job security. There is no job security these days in anything.
Exactly.
So, whether you want to work for somebody else or whether you want to do it on your own, the chances are
Well, and
exactly
it showed us like there's no job security, but also like don't take things for granted,
right.
and enjoy your life, because God
Yep.
knows what happened, right?
Well, you,
So
you said you were one of the few, but in fact, I've spoken to many, many other women, and myself, I'll include it in that
yeah,
had the same
yeah,
epiphany as you did, which
yeah,
was, oh, thank God. I can
exactly.
finally refocus on what I want to do and
Hmm.
just stop being miserable and stop, following what I'm not meant to do and start focusing on what I'm actually meant to do.
Yeah,
Um, and do it for myself.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's that was a huge thing, and it was wonderful to finally embrace that, because when you think you're juggling that side hustle or whatever, it's just one too many plates spinning, and yes, sometimes you have to do that for the beginning, but at some point you have to take that leap and try.
Well, that's, the title. Like the title I gave you here was the the powerhouse of unveiling radiant health. And obviously, you were radiating, you were radiant in the new work. And obviously that showed because your husband said, oh my
Yeah.
God, don't go back. Now I see. Now I can see the difference, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and they did call me in October and said, "Hey, this person's gone. Can you step into this role?" And I was like, "No."
Couldn't pay me enough money to come back.
Exactly.
But you must have had, let's talk about, that the self-doubt that comes in, that creeps
Oh,
in along the way. So how did you overcome that self-doubt and the fear and stay focused on your goals?
um, so I kind of I have two sides of myself of what I do. So I work at the spa and I'm an employee there. So it's kind of like mini safety net. And then I do some coaching on the side. And this past year was actually very challenging for me as far as um, growing the business. Like it almost halted, you know? And so that was a super challenge. And in all honesty, I'm part of a networking group, and one of the women in it, she and I we were kind of going through a lot of the same things. And we had partnered up and taught a few classes together. And then we both were having, I think, some health things that just kind of slowed it. Like we just kind of put the brakes on and said, we got to focus on ourselves. And then when we were coming back from that, we regrouped and said, okay, what should we do next? Because we realized like sometimes we needed that partner to help us take those steps. And we ended up putting together a podcast. So like in
Right.
this past year, it's been bringing in some new things that just gave me new energy, new excitement. I also created a creative networking group where we do art to spark that joy and happiness, but also it starts that innovative thinking and the just problem solving skills, all of it. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that
Well,
once you
it's
tap
it's
into
it's almost like
it,
meditation. Would you agree, Steph? It's almost like
oh
a
yeah,
meditation.
absolutely, absolutely. It's like a meditation, and it brings that happiness piece that for me flows into my personal life or my but also my business. So after we do a session, it's like, okay, you can go along with the rest of your business day and have more energy and be like all firing on all cylinders instead of that like draggy whatever that may happen. And so in bringing those things into the world, now we're coming into this new year and I suddenly have a renewed vigor of like signing up to talk to you and these different opportunities to be sharing
Great.
what I do. And also near the end of last year, again with my that networking group, I participated in a mastermind, and I think somebody kind of pushed me to step out of the box and start talking again, like to start talking about what I do and speaking for different things. And so I spoke for a summit for our one of our groups, and then I from there spoke and taught a class about what I do about aging gracefully, and it just shifted a lot of energy for me. And now I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I can do this again. So
You need to
yeah,
get rid of the clutter in you. You need to talk about it because it's all in your mind. And
right,
once you clear your mind and you can actually talk about it, it leaves space in your mind for new
yeah,
energy to come in and new thoughts and new ideas and new
exactly. And I
motivating
think
things.
it's a combination of getting that new engine innovative energy, but also having those people who have my back who say, Steph, you have something of value, you have some, so those people that can kick that itty bitty cranky people in your brains that say mean things.
Self-doubt.
Exactly. Exactly.
The
So
little Jiminy Cricket here.
exactly, the evil
Right.
one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, like it was a combination of having those people that have my back and can kind of kick me in the booty and say, you can do this,
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. It's staying focused, isn't it? And for the audience listening, I just want to go back to something that Steph said, and that is, that you're working part-time
Mhm.
and you're building the business as you go. So, and I think that's great because a lot of people think that they have to just ditch everything and then go into something and and it's sometimes you don't have to do that. Sometimes that puts your body into a real anxiety, nervous, your body goes into like nervous overdrive. So
Right.
what I would suggest, and I do with my clients, as I'm sure you do with yours, is that step back from what you're doing full time. Don't give it as much energy. And if you can, maybe change your job, do something part time, less hours, so that you can focus more on the things that are bringing you joy and build that business, build that podcast, do that
Mhm.
course,
Mhm.
and follow the things that you want to do. So that was
Yeah,
really important for me. I just wanted to go back to that because I think
absolutely. Yeah, and I mean for
you've
me
got to
it's
be really proud of yourself, right?
yeah. And for me it's the my part-time is being an esthetician and a spa. So it's still related to what I want to be doing.
Right.
So again, like if there's any way to find that, something that relates to what you want to do, but you still do your own thing on the side. That's even more beautiful because then you're happy in both places. You're getting the benefits of both sides. And where
Yeah.
aesthetics is a physical job, a lot of times the reality is most people do not work a 40-hour week in aesthetics, So, yeah.
So what about your uh priorities and things that you things that you had to let go of? So we just talked now about priorities and not less focus on work and more on what you're doing and what brings you joy. What sacrifices or what things did you have to let go of in order to focus and find more joy and happiness in your life?
I'd say the main thing, and it wasn't a sacrifice, it was that it was getting furloughed from that terrible job.
Right. Okay. Okay.
In all honesty, because I guess there is, of course, the sacrifice of again, focus, being, yes, I could sit on the couch and watch a program and relax with my family. There were nights where I had to be on a call or be working in the capacity of like getting my notes in order or whatever the case may be. So there are those occasional times where, yeah, like there's that sacrifice of working later, doing things. But I've also in the past probably 2 years realized when I'm doing that, oftentimes I'm, burning the candle at both ends. So it's better to try and have like those power hours where you just are like, I am shutting down all notifications on everything. I'm putting the phone over here and I am focusing for an hour to get these things done. I actually become far more accomplished and get more done than if I'm like, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night and I'm still sitting here doing something, after being at the spa, taking care of the family, getting dinner, all the things. So, yeah, I've learned to try and prioritize what needs to get done and then figure out when I'm going to do it throughout the week.
Yeah.
So that it gets done and I'm doing it during the daylight hours instead of.
Yeah, that's focused intentional work, isn't it? Focused intentional
Exactly.
work rather than scattered energy work
Exactly.
where you're trying to fit it in between, 5 minutes
And
between
now that I've
call and
done it,
stuff.
it's like, oh, come 8 o'clock, I'm ready to just relax. I'm done,
Exactly, exactly.
But it's good. It's good.
So you talked about the motivation, about, the working with the team and the network that you have. And obviously they inspire and motivate you. What other strategies or techniques have you learned to motivate and inspire yourself?
Mm. Um, Honestly, music is a huge tool for me. I just, certain songs either rise up the energy and get you powered for the day, or when you are having a really horrible time and you're in the muck, sometimes certain songs like just getting that momentum going, getting your energy up so that you can be like confident in your ways. That is a huge one for me. Music is huge. Uh, Definitely. I try to be good at my gratitude and my
I was
journalist. I
just
mean, not
gonna say, I
journalism,
was just gonna say,
yoga,
for sure,
meditation.
gratitude's in there somewhere, right?
Yeah, gratitude's huge. Honestly, I used to try and do a journal. I'm terrible at journaling. It's one of those things that I still, my kid's 10, and the years before when I was trying to do it, he'd be like crawling into bed with me or whatever. And I'm like, okay, day is starting. So I've learned to just lay in my bed and just say them in my head, almost like a prayer. And then,
Yeah.
think about what I want my day to look like, and set those good intentions for the day and then off and running, because I'm a mom.
Well, you've got to take control of your mind before the day can. Yeah, there's some things you can control, and that's the way to put your mindset in a positive state.
Mhm.
And I find that kind of strengthens, like a muscle, isn't it? Strengthens your mindset. And the more you do it, and then the more the things come to you, the more you've got tools to deal with it. You've already put your mindset in a more positive place. And so you can deal with things, the shit that hits the fan moments, right?
Exactly.
They come at
Yeah.
you from left field and you're like,
Yeah,
okay.
it
Well,
does. It definitely shifts how you respond and allows you to have that moment of like, okay, breathe. Don't
right.
just spin. And yeah, it definitely helps. And it's interesting because in doing so around my son, he's learning to do similar things,
Oh,
maybe not as often, but he knows he's got little skills now for managing things. Or even like the other day we were driving and my mom gets nervous in the car sometimes, and he was in the back seat with her and he's like, Grammy, what's wrong? And he's like, okay, hold my hand and breathe with me. And I was like, proud mom moment while I'm
I love
driving,
that.
like my sister's with me and we're both just like
Oh, I just love that. Yeah, that's
yeah.
adorable.
Yeah, so that makes me feel even better is that the tools that I'm using and trying to help manage myself with, and that he is learning just innately and sharing as well.
Well, I think
So
that's all we try and lead by example, don't we? That's
hmm
what we do. You walk the walk, you talk the talk.
hmm
Talk the talk, is it, and walk the walk? I'm not sure, but yeah, but you lead by example. You're a role model, and it
yes.
has a knock-on effect without you even knowing. You see,
hmm it does. And yeah, it's, I swear it's like spread through the whole house at this point, like
yeah.
even my husband's kind of caught on to some of it. So it's great. You know um just
That I mean that is lovely, isn't it? That your son's doing it, but I do think the young people coming in these days are a lot more equipped than we were.
yeah.
They're coming in with like more knowledge, and they
Yeah.
they're I mean, we say out of the mouths of babes, but really, I mean, they do say some really adult
Mhm.
sentences.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
find that? Do you find that with your son? He just comes out and he says something, and you're like, "Is there an
Oh yeah.
adult in the room?"
We joke he's like a 90-year-old man in
Like,
a little kid's
Christ.
body. Granted, he spends way too much time with grandpa sometimes as part of it, but he is a little old man. He's ready to become president, and he just cracks me up and is obsessed with all of it. And yeah, he also has those intuitive things too. Like he definitely can tap into energies and um in tune with a lot of things that I think a lot of little kids have, and then in life they're kind of told to stomp it out, or that's not normal.
Yeah,
And obviously with a mom like me, I'm going to be like, keep going,
yeah,
baby.
absolutely. So, you can encourage him, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas when I was a child, it was, stop talking to yourself.
Exactly.
Stop talking to yourself. Who are you talking
Yeah.
to? What's going on? Stop
Yeah.
being weird.
Exactly. Stop
Stop
being weird.
showing me up.
Exactly. I mean, granted, I've told him he's a weirdo, but I'm like,
Embrace your
we're all
weirdness,
weirdos.
right? Embrace your weirdness, that we're all unique. I always say, look at your own fingerprint. And
Yes.
that is how unique you are. There is nobody else like you on the planet. And I think
True.
that's incredible.
Mhm.
So let's talk about self-care and how you maintain your well-being, because you talked a little bit about gratitude,
Mhm.
and how to stop and breathe and
Mhm.
understand situations. What other things do you do to prioritize your self-care?
Absolutely. Well, honestly, essential oils are huge in my world.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
We uh we don't have a medicine cabinet. We have an essential oil cabinet. Even my husband carries certain oils. He's a welder, and he carries like lavender and frankincense and a few other oils with him, so that if he gets a cut, he just cleans it with the lavender and goes on with his day, or a burn, because it helps heal that much faster. So that's a key element, is just when it comes to our general wellness, we're utilizing our natural tools that we have. We take a lot of vitamins. We diffuse a lot of things to make sure that we're keeping germs at bay, and just keeping our body strong and healthy from the inside out. So, whether it's probiotics and we use a lot of frankincense and turmeric, and a protective blend that we take, and all the different things. I have blends for everything, and so whether we're using, so if we're using it topically, like if my son starts to get any sign of a sneeze or something, it's like I'm massaging that oil on the bottoms of his feet and his spine and maybe his chest or something every night, and maybe in the morning as well, just to kick it before it becomes something, and that, honestly, we have been, that's probably one of the biggest things, is as a family. It wasn't until last year that we ever had a stomach bug that actually got all three of us, like, and he was almost 10. My husband and I looked at each other and went, how have we made it this long and not had, because all our, friends with kids, it's like, oh, we all went down.
They're always sick,
We're
right?
down
They're
again.
always sick.
And we, honestly, it's like, I turn into like a little old
medicine woman,
exactly, yeah. And it's like the teas and the oils come out, and I'm just, okay, we're going to do a compress, we're going to do a this, we're going to do a that, we're going to take a bath, and you will be better in 24 hours, like, magic, right? And a lot of times it works. So
it's
yeah,
also a lot to do with, it is a lot to do with self-belief, though, isn't it? And trusting. And I can't believe that we don't use, tell me how you feel, Steph, that we don't use the natural remedies that are on this planet. Because centuries ago, we used them.
yeah.
The native tribes used to use them. Somewhere along the way, we've lost our way with medicine, I think. There are some great people in the medical industry, don't get me wrong, and fantastic surgeons, but I think we're like the pill popping society, aren't we? We just,
Yeah.
it's just, or take this and it just suppresses everything, instead
Yeah,
of let's get to the root cause.
The root cause. That's what it's all about for me. And that's what, yeah, I've always, I do believe I've had some past lives as medicine womany type things.
For sure.
I definitely have a former guide person who hangs out with me, and he's become more present. I definitely have realized there's a lot of past life knowledge that's already innate in me. And so I've always kind of tapped into that and harnessed that. And yeah, I wish more people would listen, and just even the idea of listening to your body and knowing something's not right, whether that is I've been pushing it from both sides. I've been staying up late, I've been getting up at dawn and working like a horse. I need to rest, or I'm about to get sick, I should take care of myself, like, or just that innate knowing that something really is wrong and you need to go see the doctor. So many people don't have that. They don't, my mom, when I was little and I'd go to the chiropractor, I could feel the difference in my body immediately. And at the time I was a dancer, and there was a lot of times I would go get adjusted on Wednesday morning just because that was the schedule he had me on. And Wednesday night, I'd go and take my point class. And I could, as soon as I went up on my toes, I could feel my whole spine go out of whack. And she's like, how do you feel the difference. And I'm like, how do you not feel the difference? But that being in touch with ourselves and knowing when we're healthy, when we're not, when the twitch in our back is because we've been humped over a computer or because there's something actually wrong, and that we need to stretch it out. We need to exercise. We need to, move our body in a different way instead of just constantly being in a certain position. So it's, that innate knowing and then finding the tools. And I wish more people would tap into that. And
well, this is why you're here.
Yeah.
This is one of your reasons, because honestly, there are limited, there's a stigma or there used to be with holistic doctors, a big stigma with holistic doctors. Oh, don't go to that wacky doctor, go to the real doctor, get the pharmaceutical drugs, right? It's like, but the holistic doctors have proven, I mean, you're proving it, right? That it works. I've got friends that use an holistic approach with themselves and their children, and and it's working. And I do understand why. I'm just hoping now, let's move positive forward in a positive way, that I'm hoping now that more people will embrace this, listening to your body, tuning into your intuition, tuning into how you feel. And listening and saying, I don't want a pill to suppress anything. I need to work through these emotions, and I need to find an holistic approach to my well-being.
Right. And when it comes to especially that emotional piece, the mindset piece, you can't just mask it. You have to address it. And even if you are taking medicine, you still have to be truly addressing it if you really want to get better. Otherwise, you are still just masking it, and you're putting a Band-Aid on, and you're never going to really get better. Using those tools but like, one of the things that blows my mind is us when we talk mental health, much of our emotional and mental health starts in our gut. If we're not taking care of our gut,
the rest of the body goes downhill, right?
Right. And how many people who are on medicines to help with their mental health are struggling with gut issues,
right.
And both because the medicine does that, but because also to begin with, their gut was probably not that great. So it's like, thinking about the root causes and how our body is supposed to operate, and then caring for it, giving it the nutrients, giving it the tools it needs, and allowing it. Like, my sister's one of those people that will say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Good God. Like, that is when your body repairs itself,
Yeah, be kinder to yourself, right?
Right.
We're not
like 50 something now, and
you've got to tell her. You've got to tell her we are human beings, not human doings.
Right. She's finally starting to understand that sleep is good and important. I've been saying since I was like a child, like, you need to sleep more.
I'm all about the resting and relaxing, and I think that sometimes if you don't have to go and do something, staying at home, just relaxing, having a bath, reading a book, watching Netflix if you want to, there's nothing wrong with it. Take whatever time you need, go for a walk, do what you feel like doing in the moment, and relax and just be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is so key. And knowing what your body needs, and sometimes, depending on the different personalities, some people want to be around others, but maybe those others are just the people who live in your house. Like, you don't have to be out at a party all the time,
right? Right.
I think for me, that's been a big one, is enjoying just my time when I'm able to, just be. So on the regular day-to-day, evening time, my husband and son go to bed about 8 o'clock because one's little and the other one gets up at like 4 in the morning. So
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 you've
as
got
soon
me
as
time. Perfect.
they're in bed, I get a cup of tea, I'm cuddling with my dog. That used to be my time to meditate or do yoga or whatever, but sometimes it was just zone out and stare at the wall. I don't care. I'm happy. I've got my dog, I've got my cat, I've got my tea, everything's cool and it's quiet.
Right, exactly. It's the
Yeah,
peace, isn't it? It's the peace
yeah, yeah.
it's a big key for me, freedom and peace.
Yes,
I
yeah.
really cherish I really cherish my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people forget that, forget the
Yeah,
me time. They're giving all their energy all the time. And then they're completely depleted, burning out, exhausted. And
exactly.
you've got to take that time for you. So, yes, tell your sister, remind her she's a human being, not a human doing.
Exactly.
So, Steph, on your journey,
Yeah.
this fabulous holistic wellness journey, what are the most valuable lessons that you've learned about yourself and your goals?
Mm. Um, about myself, I think I am I am a super giver. Like I always am wanting to help people. Um, but I can only help them as much as they want to help themselves. So that's been a huge
Very
one
good.
to learn. Um, so I don't really put much energy into those who don't truly want to help themselves anymore. Whereas before I'd be like, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. And it's like,
It's like flogging a dead horse, right?
yeah, exactly. um, and so there were two parts to that question. What was the other part about myself and
Yeah, the valuable lessons you've learned and your goals about yourself and your
goals?
goals.
Yeah, honestly, I'm a very modest goal maker because like right now my son is one of those kids that's like I want to be rich, and my husband and I just look at him and we're like, yeah, but we're like rich in family value and like the things we have that aren't necessarily materialistic, but that like we have a house, we have each other, we
We have
have a
love.
family. Exactly. So like
Hmm.
to me that is 1,000 times more important than making six figures. Like
Yeah.
that may make me a very different human being, but it's far more important to me that I'm living a good life with my family and at the same time helping others. So I'm not going to sacrifice my family in order to hit six figures or something like that. So that has been something that, because when you first start out, you are listening to those mentor people who are like, I can get you to six figures and I can do this and I can whatever, and it
Blah,
all
blah,
makes you
blah, right?
think like you have to do this, and then I'm like, how many people do I know that actually make that kind of money, and is it this is it that important? Like,
Yeah,
is
right.
that the most important thing? Or is it just having a good life, having the things that I value? Yeah, I'm not going to be upset if I make a little bit more money,
Well, because
and
the more you make
the
financially, of
comfort,
course, the
right?
more people you can help. We know that. But when
But
they talk about
but
making
when you're
six
just
figures,
beating
it's
yourself up because you're not getting there and you're
yeah.
not, yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth
And they
the
don't tell you the journey because you can't do that. You can't make, oh, sign up for this course and you'll make
yeah,
X amount of money in a month. Come on. You
yeah,
know, I mean,
yeah.
successful people laugh about it. They say my overnight success took 20 years. I mean, there's a whole backstory. You've got to do the work. It's,
Mhm.
you've got to pay focused, intentioned work. You know,
Exactly.
you've got to do that. You've got to put it,
Yeah.
as long as it's
My
aligned.
opinion is it's a long game,
Yeah,
So, right now where I'm at, raising my son is number one priority.
right,
Everything else falls into place, right?
right.
And once he's in college, that's when I can really put my head down and keep going. But gosh,
Maybe,
I don't know.
but you're being
Maybe
of
I'll be like,
service.
let's go live on an island and not talk to people anymore. I don't know.
I don't think so, because I think you're a person that's of in service. You're in service now, and that's important, and you'll be doing that
Mhm.
all your life. You'll be in service. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure about it, Steph. Just
yeah.
feeling your energy. I just know that. Yeah.
You know me. Yep.
I do, because when you get to that place of you're in service, yeah, it's very, you can't retire. There's no retiring.
No,
Yeah,
no.
there's no retiring from that. So,
That's true.
unexpected benefits. One of the final questions. What are
Mm.
some of the unexpected benefits or rewards you've gained from pursuing this holistic journey?
A self-empowerment of that inner knowledge, like really tapping into those skills that I innately do know. And even that old medicine knowledge that, like, I kind of laugh in my head. I think of so my grandmother was born in 1910. And I
Mine
remember that.
too. Mine too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I remember her telling us the story of when she was little, before penicillin was invented. Her mom would take, like, if they had a wound or something, they'd take like a cobweb and a moldy piece of bread and
That's
put it on
right.
there.
He called it a
And
bread
the
poultice.
cobweb was like gauze, and the moldy bread was basically penicillin. And I was
Yeah.
like, who came up with that? Brilliant idea, but that's what it was. It's that
Yeah.
the ancestral knowledge that people
Yeah.
passed on, and then eventually some scientist in a lab was like, oh wait, we can make this in a lab. But like, how interesting is that,
Yeah.
that they had that knowledge. And so now I find that just tapping into that's been the biggest thing for me.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that takes me
Yeah.
back as well to the bread poultices that they put right. They put multi bread on you. You're like, really?
I remember telling me
What's
that as a little
that's so
kid, and I was like,
soggy. It's all,
what?
what's that gonna do? But when you watch the movies, and you see what the Indians used to do, and they'd gather the herbs and they'd mash them
Yeah,
up, and then they'd put them
natural.
on the wound to heal
Mhm.
the people that had been
Yeah.
injured.
Yep.
They did it for injuries. Incredible,
Mhm.
incredible, right?
Exactly.
So this is questions I ask all my guests, Steph.
Okay.
If you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
Hmm. My immediate response is be patient, but I think I would probably tell myself to just do it. Like, just get into it, get into the natural healing that you want to be doing. Because I took the long route because I didn't have the confidence to just do it. You know, I probably didn't have to go to college. I probably could have just gotten a massage degree and started practicing something, but it happened the way it was supposed to happen.
Absolutely. It's all happened for a reason. Look at what you learned along the
Mhm.
way, right? And what do you hope your story will inspire in other women who are looking to live a purposeful and joyful life?
I hope that in talking, hearing my story, that yeah, that you can engage in natural solutions and care for yourself naturally, uh, and learn how to go into that, figuring out the root causes and caring for yourself inside out, so that you are stronger, healthier, more glowing, all the things, you know, and just being true to yourself, like, you know, knowing who you are. Because I think when you're caring for yourself innately and holistically, your true self comes out no matter what as well.
Very good. Love
Mhm.
it. Great. So, a million thanks to Stephanie for joining me today. Thanks to our audience for hanging out with us. We hope you found it inspiring and empowering, as always. You'll find all you need to know about both of us in the details below. And until next time, this is Beth and Stephanie signing off. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.